I'm about to turn that board off.
You want me to unplug it for you real quick, David?
The remix. It's on beat.
I can unplug it for you real quick.
All right. TJ Lang joining me. TJ, we talked about, you said that you don't see anybody on the front seven that really should give the Lions any problem. To me, the biggest concern for the Lions, the one matchup that I'm worried about is the Lions, is turning the ball over, is giving the Broncos extra opportunities. The 10 turnovers in the last 4 games are problematic because now Denver, they're on the outside looking in. They've won 6 of their last 7 games. They are trying to make the playoffs. If you're giving them extra possessions, I don't care if the game's at home, I don't care if the game's on the road, that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, especially this time of the year. You know what I mean? When everything starts to really tighten up. And look, the Lions are still learning that you're getting every team's best shot from here on out. That's just how it's going to be. You're no longer the team that's hunting down teams.
Right,
you're the team that everybody's trying to get after. You're a
circle team now. The team circle you on the calendar.
And this isn't a team that, we saw earlier in the season where you're winning, 20-6, or you're holding teams to 6 points, or you can still turn it over 3 times against the Raiders and still win by double digits, right? Like this is December football. Things start to tighten down a little bit. Mm-hmm. Everybody's desperate coming in, right? So one mistake, unfortunately, you don't have the margin of error you did earlier in the season where you could afford to make those mistakes and still win. It's certainly been a problem. It just has. It's been a massive problem. 10 turnovers, in the last 4 games. Now, you came out after the Thanksgiving Day game. You went down to New Orleans, took care of the football. You got 2 takeaways.
Oh my God, you scored it. Before you could blink, it was 21-0.
Yeah, and you're saying, okay, that's behind us, right? Those issues are gone. And then you do it again last week where it's 3 more turnovers. Now, look, did the interceptions kill you? Probably not. One was on a 4th down that it was probably an arm punt.
Right, it was a punt.
The last one, you're down 2 scores, kind of a desperation heave. Didn't kill you. The fumble killed you. The fumble absolutely killed you. That was
fumble took you out the game.
Right, but you're right, though. This team, and that's why I think tomorrow this team can only beat themselves. Right. I look at Denver and I say, as long as you bounce back, as long as you get back to your identity and do what you're good at, do what you've been, your bread and butter, all season long, the run game, the play action game, defense, you know what? Hey, we might allow some chunk plays here and there, but we're going to lock you down in the red zone. We're going to be good on 3rd down. The situational football, that's how you win games. When you're making mistake after mistake after mistake, you can't sustain that anymore. You can't come back from that. And that's why, even last week, you look at the Chicago game, and there were so many just dumb issues that popped up, right? I mean, the first drive, you get the ball, you're driving down, and then you get a tripping penalty, and it's 2nd and forever. I mean, the drive's dead, right? Jahmyr Gibbs drops in the first half. What was probably a touchdown, right? Maybe you're going up 2 scores into the second half getting the ball. You come out of...
you see St. Brown dropping passes.
St. Brown
You're not used to seeing that.
And these are coming from your reliable players. And look, I know Aiden Hutchinson doesn't jump off sides much. He doesn't. I mean, you look at his... statistics over the last couple of years, it's maybe a couple, right? Like, he's a smart guy, but in that situation, it's just like, it's such a bad mistake.
Aiden, it's 4th and 13, not 4th and inches. Were you trying to get it's 4th and 13.
And they're not even going to snap the ball, which was very obvious to everybody watching that, okay, they faked, right? Then they motion, and then they faked again, and then they motioned, and then you bite it. It's like, oh my goodness, right? But mistakes. And even after that, you come out, the next play the offense has the ball, you fumble it. Mm-hmm. So now you go from being in a tie game, getting the ball back, to next time you get the ball, you're down 2 scores.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it is a lot of self-inflicted wounds that this team has been, putting on themselves, where it's been hurting them. And look, if they play that way tomorrow, this Denver defense is going to kill you. They are going to swarm you. If you're leaving yourself 3rd and 9s and 3rd and 12s and 3rd and 13s and, false start, now it's 3rd and 14, you're dead against this Denver defense.
Right.
You are. But and
that's why I said you can't give them the extra possession.
You can't. You absolutely cannot. And it's not just Denver. It's any team at this point of the season. You cannot give the ball away. That ball is gold.
But I look at the Denver secondary, and I'm like, okay, I don't think you want to go up and challenge their corners right now. They're playing pretty well. Also, as a former player, we don't know what's being said in locker room at halftime. But what happens when this team goes into the locker room and comes out in the third quarter lately where they just fall on their face, where they're not scoring the ball, where they're turning the ball over, where, you had a 13-10 lead and it's like punt, like you're not moving the ball. It's 3 and out. Like,
yeah.
What's being said at halftime, or are we just making too much of the third quarter woes?
I mean, I wish I had an answer. And I think they wish they had an answer.
Walk in there and find out.
I think they wish they had an answer, right? You talk to the players, and even Ben talked this week, and he's like, guys, if we had an answer, we would try to fix it. I don't know what's going on. I do think there are certain play callers, and I'm not accusing Ben Johnson of doing this, but I've seen it in the past where you go out the first half, and look, the Bears were, I think, the number one rush defense in the league going into that game. You rushed for, I think it was 97 yards in the first half. So you go in there and you're thinking about adjustments. What do we need to do better? But also part of you is thinking, what are they talking about over there in their locker room? They're going to sell out to stop the run because we just gashed them, right? We just put up almost 100 yards in the first half. They're probably getting, MF'd over there, and it's unacceptable, right? So they're going to sell out to stop the run. Hey, why don't we come out with a play action pass, right? Mm-hmm. Which I don't mind the thinking, but a lot of coordinators sometimes can outsmart themselves where it's, hey, we did this really well. They're going to adjust to it, so we need to change before they prove they can stop what you're doing well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I've often said.
It's a weird way to put it, and I'm not accusing Ben Johnson of doing that. I've just been around a lot of people that said, hey, we ran the ball really well. Now we're going to come out passing because they're going to sell out to stop the run. It's like, wait, why don't we just keep running until they prove they can stop the run?
Man, I would oversimplify it. I treat it like a video game. I'm going to run this play until you show me you can stop this play. I'm going to run it all game long.
And you know what? It's not I put the play calling maybe at 10%. 90% of it is still execution. Even though you come out of the Chicago game and you run the first play of the second half was a play action boot, Chicago was ready for it. They had it well defended. You still got a way to find positive yards in that scenario, right? Because now when you're throwing an incomplete pass, it's 2nd and 10. You're taking at least one run off the board. I think the next play they run for 5, right? Okay, 3rd and 5, manageable. Most likely a passing down. Right. You know what I mean? And in that type of game where the passing game was just thrown out of sorts and it just looked wacky the entire game, that's not the type of game you want to live in. So you look at some of these, and I'm sure it's very easy for us to sit in these chairs saying, hey, why don't we just run, pick up the first down, and then go play action? Right. You know what I mean? But that's where I put it on the players, that you still have to find ways to execute. You still have to find a way. We talked about last week having the it factor where, you know what, they sniffed out this bootleg. How can I still find a way to turn this into a positive? They didn't find a way to do that. So I wish I had the answer for what's going on in the third quarter. It seemed like last week was, they were punting the ball before everybody was even done getting their hot dogs from the concession stands and even made it back to their chairs. Chicago had the ball back, and it's like, what I missed? What happened, right? The bottom line is you got to come out, and it's a different attitude, right? It's the second half, especially in a game where you have a lead going into the second half. We used to call this the double down, which was a huge thing when I played. When we get the ball, to start the second half, if we can score to end the first half and we can double up, now we're going up 10 points instead of being up 3.
Bill Belichick made a living off of that.
That is a huge deal in this league, because maybe now you're forcing Chicago, even though it's early in the third quarter, to start getting out of their comfort zone a little bit and saying, maybe we got to start passing the ball a little bit. It's a 2-score game, right? Coaches tend to panic a little bit when they see a 2-score differential in the second half. I just think it comes down to killer instinct. It comes down to finding a way to make a play. It comes down to executing. And it comes down, for Jared Goff, I think even on that play, he had Amon-Ra was kind of probably the last read on that, kind of running a deep corner route, but still could have given him a chance maybe to make a play. The bottom line is they're just not executing. That's it. You got to find a way to go out there and make it happen.
248-539-9797. You got more faith in Goff. You got more faith in Russell Wilson. And what do you think that final record is going to be over the next 4 games? Get your phone calls. Plus, I do have another question for Mr. Lang sitting across from me. We'll get to all of that next. 97.1.